Thank you so much, Chamberlain. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Business Morning on Sunrise Daily. And yes, we're doing business for just about 30 minutes away from the Edo politics. I know that one of these days we'll hope to have an election that will have majority of the people's votes represented, and then we'll have less of those after talks. And now the courts will get busy. I can't imagine. But let's do business. For now, we start from the global space. Prices of oil rose on Monday, buoyed by concerns that heightened conflict in the Middle East may curtail regional supply and expectation. Last week's outsized U.S. interest rate cut will also support demand. Let's look at the numbers right there. We see gain for both features that we look at. This is November features. It gained 60 cents. That's for Brent to $75.09 a barrel. That's 0.8% up. While for WTI, it gained 64 cents. That's 0.9% at $71.64 a barrel. Well, the impact of that Federal Reserve cut is still there, even though it's getting to the end of it. And then a dip in the United States supply in the aftermath of the hurricane. Remember, Hurricane Francine disrupted supply. And then also, of course, you have the Middle East also affecting price at this time. Come back home now and look at the Naira. We saw a gain in the Naira at the close of trade on Friday, and that's because of another intervention by the Central Bank of Nigeria. So we see closing the week on a good note, 0.16% for NAFEM. It opened at 1,544 Naira 2 kobo, but closed at 1,541 Naira 52 kobo. That's a gain of 0.12%. I think that's equal to about 2 Naira 50 kobo added to the value of the Naira by the close of trade on Friday. NAFEX also gained 0.45%, but it's still closed at 1,611 Naira 97 kobo for NAFEX at the close of trade last week. CBN remains active in the market. I guess that's expected at this time. Now let's give you energy price watch for the month of August. Now you may be surprised that perhaps the expected noise we've heard in the energy sector in the last couple of weeks is not captured. Please remember, this is the first, mostly this data they're collected in the first 2 weeks of a month. So we're talking of August now, then we're looking at the first 2 weeks mostly, an average price during the first 2 weeks of August. So let's remember that, because it may not capture some of those movement that we've seen between late August and September, which we're still seeing. So looking at petrol now, we see for petrol, year on year, the price went up 32.51% at 830 Naira 46 kobo. That means that by August 2023, the average price of petrol per liter was 626 Naira 70 kobo. So you fill in the gap what you're paying now. And then month on month, there was a 7.78% difference month on month. So that means by July 2024, it was 770 Naira 54 kobo. But obviously, it had gone up to 830 by August. Now, when we look at by states profile now, we see Benue State had the highest average retail. Now, I think Benue is one state of interest. When you look at the issue of inflation, Alhaji did look at states' inflation last week, and we saw Benue popping up. Knowing that a major driver, at least before the last month, major driver of inflation in Nigeria has been food. We know food in Benue is the food basket. At least you have yam, so you wonder why. So I guess we can trace it to energy, because you see Benue State leading when it comes to the highest price by state. So Benue State has the highest average retail price at 941 Naira 24 kobo. That's petrol per liter, while Delta has the lowest. Perhaps all those illegal bunkering and refineries are feeding into Delta, so it reduces their price. So 667 Naira 50 kobo, that's what we have, the lowest average price for the month of August. Now let's look at others. The next one would be diesel. That's automotive gas oil. So we see for diesel, the month of August, we did see an increase. I wonder when we'll see a decrease. 64.58% year-on-year increase. That's what we saw for diesel. 1,406 Naira 5 kobo from the year, that's August 2023, it was 854 naira 32 kobo. So within a year, we had more than 50% increase in diesel. And then I thought that the price of diesel had gone to about 1,000, still 1,400. Year on year, it went, month on month, beg your pardon, this is year on year, month on month, went up almost 2%. So by July 2024, it was at 1,379 naira 48 kobo. Meanwhile, by August, it had gone to 1,004. Kaduna State had the highest average price at almost 1,930 naira 79 kobo. Lagos State, close to the source, I guess that should be the factor driving it, making it the state with the lowest average price of diesel at 1,237 naira 14 kobo. From there, we go to cooking gas, liquefied petroleum gas at this time. And this is looking at the refilling of 5 kg cylinder of liquefied petroleum gas. We saw an increase month on month of 7.62%. At 6,430 naira 02 kobo, it went from 5,900. So that means in July, it was 5,974, but had gone up to 6,430. That's 5 kg cooking gas. While year on year, we see 56.25% from 4,000. So it was about 4,000 in August 2023, but of course, by August 2024, it had gone up to 6,000. Benue had the highest price at 7,000. Taraba had the lowest at 5,600 naira 67 kobo. And I think the final one on the list of the energy watch we're doing this morning is kerosene. Look at kerosene there. This is for a liter. So month on month, we saw an increase of 4.39% at 1,847 naira 59 kobo, while it was 1,769 naira 80 kobo in the month of July 2024. It had gone up to this by August. Then year on year, there's a 45.21% increase there. You have it, going from 1,272 naira 40 kobo. Zamfara had the highest average price, 2,566 naira 67 kobo. Taraba had the lowest. So I wonder how many people, just out of curiosity, are still using kerosene. If it's this expensive, it used to be for the people in the lower part of the ladder. But if it's this expensive, then I wonder of what use is it to go through the stress of using kerosene and other stove and on the smoke and the unhealthy factors that surround using it at this time. So perhaps maybe when there's no more use, we will see the price reduce. So that's the energy price watch for the month of August. I'm sure we'll have more interesting numbers by the time we're doing that of September. Just cast your mind back to what has been happening the last couple of weeks. The Dangote, Petrol, the MPC picking up and not picking up, and all of that being a part of it. Let's leave the energy space now and do core economy. King's College Old Boys Association 2024 has held its 115th annual Founders Day lecture with the theme Achieving a Secure Nigeria by 2030. For the keynote speaker, former Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy of Nigeria, Mr. Mansour Mukhtar, in achieving a prosperous, stable and secure Nigeria, leadership must be seen as an inspiring force. It's a meeting of Old Boys Association of King's College in Lagos, and the caliber of individuals in attendance explains the esteem the school has enjoyed over the years. The focus here is, however, not internal matters, but national economy.
Increased educational investment can significantly assist in developing a productive workforce and reclaiming the generational loss stemming from past failures. However, we must also pay greater attention to the neglected area of technical and vocational education to impart relevant skills and bridge the jobs and skills mismatch.
The issues are further dissected by a panel. Weaknesses which may have hampered and accelerated development made up the conversation.
There's a need for us to reskill our civil service and to strengthen our institutions, which could help us get on the way to the promised land of a secure Nigeria by 2030.
It is not a long-term sustainable strategy. Because when you're subsidizing, at some point, real money has to exchange hands. If it's government to government, it can go on for a while, but if it's government to a private enterprise, at some point you actually have to pay the private enterprise. But the takeaway is, yes, it is to stimulate production, not with the aim of making the price of the product cheaper.
Known for his matter-of-fact talks, former CBN Governor Muhammadu Sanusi hits on the austere situation in the country
communication is
and its
also
management.
about setting an example. It is fine to tell Nigerians, and we should tell Nigerians, that we cannot afford certain subsidies. We don't have the money. We are too much in debt. But when we're telling Nigerians that we do not go buying SUVs for senators, we do not go buying private extra presidential jets, we do not go spending billions on politicians. This, if you're doing austerity, it has to be across the board. Nigerians need to see that we actually understand that we cannot continue with lifestyle. What we've seen is that the politicians have not in any way made any sacrifices.
The concerns expressed here are not new. The difference would be when the concerns become policies that are implemented to effect the needed change. Now, the issue at hand now is that the MPC, the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria, begins its meeting today, the 297th MPC meeting. They're holding today and tomorrow. So we expect to get a decision tomorrow. But as usual, we would like to see what to expect, from this meeting. We do know that inflation has tapered twice now, and that is a major consideration for the meeting. Energy cost, however, is a threat to that reduction in inflation that has been recorded in the last 2 months. So let's discuss this and a whole lot more with Professor Ndubisi Nwokoma. He is the Chairman, Advisory Board of CIPA, and CIPA is the Center for Economic Policy Analysis and Research of the University of Lagos. Professor Nwokoma, good morning, and thank you for joining us this morning.
Good morning. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, so even as we speak, I believe the meeting would have started of the MPC. We know that we would have expected a soft landing after 2 months of reduction in inflation. But now we have energy prices, which is, we know, a major factor after food into inflation number. So I wonder what you see as considerations and priority for the MPC as they begin their meeting today.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think you raise an important point, very, very critical, about the inflation rate. It has come down for 2 months now. It's about 32% currently. And I think what just happened about energy prices, it raises some kind of concern, whether this fall in inflation can be sustained. Because when you have the price of PMS, which is a major driver for pricing, because goods and services, goods have to move from point A to point B. And of course, they move with transportation. And that multiplier is very, very strong in driving inflation. So I don't know whether that can be sustained, the fall in inflation over the past 2 months. So I want to believe that the Monetary Policy Committee will take that into consideration, that this party, this euphoria, this excitement about the fall in inflation could be short-lived because of the impact of energy prices. And I think that should come into play in what they decide today, tomorrow, as regards what the NPR should look like. Because to me, it's the energy issue is quite significant.
Yeah, but can't we say that perhaps we are attaining a kind of stability now that Dangote's supply, should be expected or has been expected? We don't even know when, it gets, but we do know that NNPCL has, taken off some of the products from Dangote, shouldn't that give us the kind of succor that there'll be supply and stability even in the price?
I see it slightly differently because we have this kind of contention between Dangote and NMPCL as regards what the pricing about they are buying from Dangote and all that. There are so many issues that have to be resolved because that sector needs a lot of reforms. I mean, many persons feel that way, and I feel so too. The operation of NMPCL is actually shrouded in so much mystery. People now begin to wonder what actually is the actual price. Is it that those who are importing are trying to sabotage Dangote or what? What are the issues? Because unless that is resolved, the benefit we may gain from Dangote being operational may actually be lost because of issues. People talk about cabal or whatever, and those who are importing actually will have a challenge in their business. So there's a lot of mystery concerning the role of NMPCL and Dangote and the marketers in this whole imbroglio, I will call it. So unless that is resolved, the price of PMS will still remain high. And if it remains high, it has this pass-through effect on inflation. So I think government needs to help, not just by talking about monetary policy issues, changing rates, but resolve this quagmire between importation, Dangote production, if getting crude for Dangote to operate. There are so many issues that have to be resolved so that you can have an appropriate pricing for Dangote products. And then that will have a pass-through effect on the entire economy. The Monetary Policy Commission should be able to take that into consideration, not just changing rates. There are other issues that are largely structural that have to be resolved for us to get it right as regards energy prices.
So does it mean that we should still expect another hike and all the negative effects that go with it in this meeting?
My concern is that there should be no hike, but because the previous hike in monetary policy rate, in my view, I did not subscribe to that because central bank appears to feel that inflation is the inflation we have in Nigeria now is a monetary phenomenon. I see it otherwise. The inflation we have currently in Nigeria is structural. It's usually cost push. There are so many factors that are not monetary that are driving inflation. Things like insecurity, production in agricultural sector, which affects food inflation. Issues about infrastructure. Which have the foreign exchange issues, input prices, imported input prices, which affects manufacturing. So there are many issues that are structural, which have to be addressed, it's not necessarily, try to hike rates. In my view, government should focus more on addressing these issues about are largely structural. The issue about energy prices with NMPC address that. The issue about security address that. Inflation will come down. In my view, the Monetary Policy Committee should not in any way, that's my view, consider hiking the NPR. In fact, the economy is shrinking currently. When this government came into office last year, Nigeria was the largest economy in Africa. Now we are fourth because the economy is shrinking. We're taken by South Africa, by Egypt, by Algeria. Nigeria is now fourth on the continent because our economy is shrinking. So we need to encourage growth. Not just fight inflation, which can address inflation by looking at the other issues that are largely structural. It's basically cost push. Address inflation by that point. Then when it comes to growth, make credit available, make the environment conducive. Then we'll be able to bring up growth. If we keep on hiking rates, what are we going to do? We're going to attract portfolio investment from abroad. And let us also know that globally, monetary policy is easing. Even in the US, they are easing their monetary policy. They are cutting rates. So hiking rates is not the way to go, in my view. If you want to address inflation, address the issues that are largely structural. And then you even need to lower rates because the global economy is lowering rates. Nigeria, in the central bank, in my view, should consider lowering the NPR so as to create room for economic growth. Unless we do that, the economy will continue to shrink.
Yeah, but Professor Wonkoma, if you talk about lowering rates because others are lowering rates, they would point out the fact that the factors are different where we are at this time. our state of economy is different compared to, I mean, look at the US, they've been fighting inflation. They have a target and they are on that target. Even South Africa also. But on the other hand, if you say they shouldn't, that's a monetary policy, I mean, what other instruments can they do? I mean, other things you mentioned, they are for the fiscal authority to handle.
For the other economies, basically, they have their own challenges. Nigeria has. And our challenge currently is bringing stability in the system, which appears to be so, but it is actually transitory, in my view. If we keep our rates high when the global economy is lowering rates, attraction to be able to attract foreign capital, it's not going to bring in FDI because it's not, and more, even if FDI comes, it's not even based on such changes in your NPR. FDI to Nigeria are largely resource-seeking FDI. They are coming for resources, maybe oil sector and all that. And they're not coming for, they're not coming for efficiency. They're not coming for the market. Only FDI for MPC coming for called the large market. Basically, hiking rates or keeping the rates constant because the world is keeping it, they have a different condition may not be the way to go, because our own circumstances they mean that we need to grow as an economy. We need to increase the tempo of economic activities. We need to empower the medium and small scale industries. We need to make credit available. Remove the credit squeeze. Let money be easily available, and then we cannot begin to enhance growth. That's our concern. So what the world is doing, it affects us, but basically what they are doing is even helping us to know that hiking our own rates will not actually be there, because already they've helped us by lowering rates. So definitely, even if we, at the worst case scenario, we should keep the rates the way they are, or in my view, lower rates, because our current condition is that we need to grow the Nigerian economy. Currently, it is shrinking.
But Prof, can we look at the benefit of this hike, FPI? I mean, we've seen the government raising a lot of money from the money market. Could we count that? At least now the CBN can easily intervene in the market. Could we count that as gains of this hike? At least one of it.
The hike, I don't really see any long-term gain. The gains in the hiking of the rates actually are just are temporary, because just like the former central bank governor gave an illustration about somebody who is about to die, and then you need blood for that person, and the only available blood is HIV-infected blood. And what do you do? Do you say, okay, this person needs blood, but the only available blood is HIV-infected? And then he says, why not take the HIV-infected blood and then revive the person, and then after that you don't begin to treat HIV? That was the thinking. So that taking in this is our hot money, it's portfolio. When you begin to hike rates, you are bringing in, like you say, oh, blood. Any blood is still blood. But if you have alternatives, you don't need to take HIV blood. If you have alternatives, except you don't have alternatives. But I don't think Nigeria is in that strict condition where we must, because we are being assisted by the global economy. So the benefits for hiking rates, in my view, are basically short-term in nature, because the economy, the money we are bringing in does not keep you for a long time. It's actually short-term effect. In my view, the best way to go is to lower rates by some basis points. And the worst case scenario, keep it or hold. Hiking rates, it may have benefits that are but actually short-term, and which may be counterproductive for the growth of the economy, which in my view is what we need. There's also much unemployment. Get people engaged. We should get people engaged so that jobs can be created. Lower rates so that we can grow the economy.
All right, Prof. Thank you so much. We hear you. I wonder if the meeting hears you, but I'm sure they have their own considerations also to take care of. Professor Ndubisi Nwokoma is the Chairman, Advisory Board, Center for Economic Policy Analysis and Research at the University of Lagos. Thank you so much, Prof. All right, now let's just see how the market closed at the end of the week. Last week, we see a positive close for the NGX, good number, 0.81%. retaining the 98 that it recovered. It's recovered in the middle of the week. I think was it Tuesday or Wednesday? We see that the market recovered to 98,247.99, 0.81% is what it closed with at the end of the week. And the market cap gained 454.86 billion naira, closing at 56 trillion naira. The activity chart, however, in the red for the week. We can see 11% from the volume and the value. The deals was about 40 deals at the close of it. Banking managed to stay positive. We know profit taking has been going on that counter, managed to stay positive. Consumer goods and industrial. Dangote sugar, I know, was very much hit by profit taking also. So the counter is 0.07% closed down. Industrial goods 0.13%. Oil and gas really at the tip right there. Positive though, 0.02. I think Oando is done with the trending and surging that we saw it do for weeks after the acquisition of Ajip Nigeria. Everything that has a beginning has an end, I guess. Well, top gainers for top trades, Japo Gold, FBN Holding, some stories going on about FBN Holding after they sold their stake in their subsidiary. But then we saw a lot of cherry picking on them. They were buying interest. And then later on, we saw the profit being taken. So sometimes you just wonder what's going on in the market. Is there some news? UACN also was a top trade last week. Top gainers were Carverton, Fidelity, and Fitson. Top losers, however, flour mill, Northern Nigeria flour mill, Mikio also comes up, and Tantalizers. I mean, these are not very common stocks, but every once in a while we see them do come up right there. That are the top trade. Moving to the smaller unlisted market, we saw it was also a positive close for them, 3.78% at 2,227.73 market cap. Surging on 3 trillion. Activity chart was green at the close of trade last week. Almost 100% increase in volume of trade. Interesting right there. Value also looking good, 72.7% increase at 2.25. There were 318 deals, stocks traded with it. So, there's a smaller market, before some companies can now grow into the NGX. Top trades, Geofluid and Aradel. Aradel is moving to the NGX. So they also made top trades. Obviously, they would gaining some investors' confidence right there. In the other markets, I think we'll have to wait for Business Incorporated. There, Ladi will be here with Aniti Ede to give you intraday market numbers. And an interesting conversation you should be looking forward to during Business Incorporated is that delay in the payment of coupons by the federal government on the savings bond and raising some concerns. Twitter was really busy this weekend with investors who are wondering what's going on. Has it gotten to this level where the federal government cannot fulfill? But the DMO did come out to say it's technical issues, so I hope that's resolved on time. We'll have a conversation on that and a whole lot more. That will be between Ladi and Aniti Edith at 1 p.m. during Business Incorporated. I'm Ini John Mekwa handing you back to the Sunrise Daily team.